you guys, you know. Well, I think they send it down that one ditch and then all right.
Lady things.
That's fine. Yeah, that's no problem.
All right, we'd like to welcome you guys out to the Planning Commission meeting this night, May 28th, 2015. We're going to go ahead and get started here. I've asked Commissioner Bautista to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then Commissioner Richards to offer opening remarks.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here in this day, we're grateful for the city in which we live, thankful for the business that we have ahead of us, and we may go through it and sort out the things that need improved and reviewed. We pray for thy spirit be with us, and that we may be able to attend to that business. We ask for thy blessing to be upon us throughout the remainder of this night. We say these things in Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you. A few items of business. If you're here on items 3, 7, or 8, those items have been continued till June 11th. So 3, 7, and 8. And if anybody doesn't have an agenda, let me know. But those will not be heard tonight. And so,
Hey, you guys do.
thanks. We would also need to recognize Commissioner Bautista, who's an alternate that will be a voting member tonight, because we have 7 of us, right? Okay. So with those continuances, do I have a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
You gotta do the.
Oh, with
Yeah,
items 3, 7, and 8 to be continued until June 11th.
Second. Okay. Motion by Commissioner Coombs and second by Commissioner Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we will review the staff reports and we'll entertain a motion on those.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the staff reports.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Richards and second by Commissioner Nelson. All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any declarations of conflicts or abstentions from any of the commission members? Anything that's on the agenda tonight? All right. Very good. Is Royce still dealing with some technical difficulties?
There you go, Sam. So how is everybody tonight?
Yeah. I'm over to Lisa for some entertainment.
You can see his turn.
My open song and dance.
You're it.
I've been practicing.
practicing.
Just wait for our city planner. Oh yeah, if anybody arrived late, we are continuing items 3, 7, and 8. So if you're here for any of those items, it will not be heard tonight. Continue to June 11th.
Okay, sorry about that. We
Okay,
have
so we're ready for item number 1.
Okay.
And for those of you who just came in, just last announcement, 3, 7, and 8 have been continued. So if you're here for those, they will not be heard. Item number 1 is a public hearing to consider the request of Daniel Thomas to amend the Pleasant Grove City Code Section 10-14-24-3E to remove the requirement for drive aisles dividing parking areas of 100 spaces, 55,000 square feet or more, and to remove the requirements to install a 6-foot sidewalk along the sides of the internal drive lanes. So we'll turn the time over to Royce this time.
Okay, so apologize for the delay, but this item came forward in a design or development review committee a couple of weeks ago. We were discussing this new property to come in down off of Pleasant Grove Boulevard and North County Boulevard. So we currently have a requirement in that area, which is the subdistrict where this is located is called the interchange subdistrict of the Grove Zone. There's a requirement there that says that if you have more than 100 parking spaces that are contiguous, or you have more than 55,000 square feet of area where the parking is located, that needs to be broken up by some sort of drive aisle. So I would have, looks like the computer started actually. I had updates going on for some reason. So if you can hang on for another second.
Sure.
Get you some visual aids.
Sorry, everybody.
Anyway, your job is feeling some pressure too.
That was not in the job description. But I can certainly delegate.
When you make notes of that in the job description.
You suggest it,
I'm sure you guys have.
This is open here.
There's chairs up here.
Okay. After,
Real quick before.
Sure,
we
yeah.
proceed. I know I've announced this like 5 times tonight, but we've had others that have trickled in. So items 3, 7, and 8 are continued to June 11th, and we're currently going to hear from our city planner on item number 1.
Okay. So again, thank you for everybody's patience. Just having some difficulties there. So again, we're looking at changing the requirements in the Grove zone and the interchange district. So to kind of show the difference between drive aisles and just regular drive aisles as required by code. Here's a drawing of the developer showing what's going to be put in down there. So this is North County Boulevard and Pleasant Grove Boulevard. So this is the drive aisle that would be required by code. They have sections of landscaping that separate them from the parking area. Long sections of parking or long sections of landscaping that could accommodate sidewalks potentially. That's another requirement in the code, is that adjacent to these drive aisles that we have 6-foot sidewalks on either side. So where this became an issue was right here. We had, I believe it was 270 some odd parking stalls there. And so that would require another drive aisle to come down in the middle here. So that would take away from green space and other places because parking requirements are pretty extensive down there, and we do require a lot of parking for the type of use that would be down here, which is retail and office. So in an effort to kind of equalize things in the zone and still maintain good development, we started looking around at other developments and looked at the doTERRA development just a little bit northeast of where the proposed developments to go. So as you can see here, we've got just a standard drive aisle here. And this type of parking situation meets the intent of the code. That's what the council has outlined that they want in that zone. And it also shows some very good urban design. So what we feel as planning staff is that this should be approved, that we remove these requirements of the dividing the 100 spaces or more, or 55,000 square feet or more of parking space with a drive aisle, and then also with that removing the requirement for the sidewalk along those drive aisles. So because this isn't required anywhere else in the zone, and we're still seeing great development, great design in parking lots, because the code is still fairly extensive and restrictive concerning how parking lots are designed. So are there any questions on this item?
So just to clarify, Royce, this is
Sure.
the only zone that has this requirement.
Right, and this is the only interchange. This is the only sub-district within the Grove zone that has that. So it's a very small area within the city.
Mr. Chair, question.
Sure.
Are we removing the code, or are we just doing like a waiver for this development?
So we would be removing the code because we found that this is problematic for this development. Since there hasn't been a lot of development down there, we also haven't been enforcing it. And so looking at previous development, we've seen that it's worked out just great without this down there. So we don't see the reason to require it of these developments when similar or identical developments just up the street don't have that requirement.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay.
Is the applicant present? Would you like to
man.
stand up and state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is Daniel Thomas. I'm with a company called St. John Properties, and we're the master developer of this project. You want my Salt Lake address?
Yeah, be good for the record.
299 South Main Street, Suite 1300, Salt Lake City, Utah 84111.
Great. Is there anything additional you'd like to add or any other comments you'd like to make?
Nope, Royce did a great job.
Perfect. We will now open it up then to any public comment. If there's anybody from the public who'd like to come forward and make a statement, they're welcome to. No comments? Okay, we'll close the public comment and bring it back up here. You can go ahead and take a seat now.
Thank you.
Any further discussion from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the commission and the city council approve this proposed text amendment with removing requirements for drive aisles separating every 100 parking places, 55,000 square feet of parking or more, associated sidewalk requirements in section 10, 14, 24, 3E in the interchange subdistrict of the Grove Zone of the Pleasant Grove City Code. Adopting exhibits conditions and findings as stated.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion by Commissioner Richards and a second by Commissioner Baptista. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Item number 2 is a public hearing to consider the request of Craig Smith to rezone approximately 12.32 acres from RR rural residential to R112 zone, single family residential on property located approximately 1640 north, 300 east in the RR zone. Royce?
We've lost no connection again. All sorts of technical difficulties tonight. All right.
Just something popped up.
Oh, something. Oh, that's fine.
To get Windows 8.1.
The city can't afford that.
Okay, let's see if this is where. Oh, good. That was it. All right. So we have a rezone request, 1640 north, 300 east, roughly kind of the southeast corner of 100 east and 1800 north. So this is a general plan map showing what the city council has accepted as a general plan. So this green area down here is all low density residential. That's the general plan designation. This kind of tan area, the very low density residential. So low density residential currently supports an R112 and R115 zoning. So let's see, I think I have them on the next slide. So R112 being 12,000 square foot lots, just a little over a third of an acre, and R115 being 15,000 square foot lots, being of course larger. So what the applicant has requested is that in anticipation of building a subdivision here, that they are able to rezone this rural residential to an R112 zoning so that they can provide different size lots within here. Most of the time we see developers come in and want to take the lots down to the minimum that they can to maximize development. However, this developer has chosen to, oh, I don't have the plat on here. I do have the plat on here somewhere, hang on. There we go. So this is our the proposed subdivision plat. Of course, these things are subject to change, but this has been what the developer has stuck with since the beginning of the year, roughly, as we've been working on trying to get the lots to meet code and so on. So as you can see, we have some very large lots down here, about 3/4 of an acre, roughly, and then some smaller lots up here and all significantly exceeding that 12,000 square foot minimum. However, this provides opportunity for the developer in the future to put in different size lots should they desire to later. The current phase being this western part, which we'll talk about in a moment. So, based on the fact that this is supported by the general plan, and that there are other similarly sized lots in the area, planning staff, after having reviewed it, recommends approval of the rezone so that the subdivision can go in as requested. So are there any questions about this item?
Can you go back to the slide that,
Yeah.
Can you go back to the slide that has the other lots?
Back up here or
That one right there.
that one? Okay.
Okay, so what is the zoning on this and right here right now?
So the up there is going to be R120, whereas below, off the top of my head, I'm trying to,
It says
I believe it's R110. Oh, it's R110. Okay. So like I said that the lots here are actually larger than the majority of what surrounds the area. Of course, with the exception of the R120 just above, which is pretty similar to what's going in. So, anyway, does that answer your question?
So there's a transition going from here to there.
There is, right. And that's how the general plan is designed. And you can kind of see on the general plan map there on the right, that the map on the board, it sort of fans out. You have highest densities down in the Grove Zone and along State Street, and then it fans out towards the north and east, going to lower and lower densities. So any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Royce. Is the applicant present? State your name and address, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, thank you. My name is Lars Anderson. I represent the engineering firm that is doing the design for the Smith family. Craig Smith is here. He's the property owner. He owns all of the property, but he has promised certain sections to other family members. And so that has created the different size lots that you see. His family would like the first 3 lots that are larger lots to build on immediately. And then the 6 lots that you see in phase 1 would be, 9 lots would be future lots, right? Because we got the 3 on the east and then 7 lots. Sorry, we've been back and forth a little bit on these lots to try to get to a size lot that was the transition, that was bigger than the minimum required. And the family's interested in making this a good neighborhood asset, as well as we've worked with engineering to design the roads to connect through so that there's good circulation patterns. And they've done that at the loss of some of what they could have had more density. So they've worked very hard to work with the city in developing those in a way that's works with your master plan. There's also a representative from the family that pertains to the 7 lots. Jesse Brimhall, would you like anything else?
What
To
we'll do is
address,
we'll
sir.
open up for public comment
Okay.
after you're done. And so if, I'll open it up.
Not really. He just represents the other property owner. So I just want to make sure he had a chance if you had questions for him or I.
He'll have a chance.
Okay.
Definitely. So
I'll stand for questions.
are there any questions for Mr. Anderson at this time?
Okay, thank you.
Did the speaker say where he lives?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not give my address? Our business address is 986 West, 9000 South in West Jordan, Utah. But I live in Highland.
What's the name of the company?
PEC.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Good catch. We will go ahead and open this up to public comment at this time. If I can just make a suggestion that we try not to get too repetitive. If you have something to say that's similar to what somebody else has already said, this is not necessary to spend a lot of time on it. So try to be as concise as you can. But we'll go ahead and open it up to public comment at this time. So if anybody's ready, they can come forward and state their name and address and go ahead, sir.
Okay, Stuart Eastman. I'm at 355 East, 640 North, Pleasant Grove, just to the west of the larger lots they talked about. Just a couple of concerns here that haven't been covered. I appreciate that the property owners are trying to retain somewhat of the same atmosphere. You got to realize that all those houses of 20-some years in that area and that field has been there, and it creates a great environment for the neighborhood and Pleasant Grove in general, in my opinion. Okay, so also there are things that are probably not thought about, and this, I don't want to get into endangered species or anything, but there's a lot of wildlife, ground nesting birds that are nice to have in the area, such as quail and pheasants, etc. The other thing that I have questions on is, and we found out one is the engineering company, but development's a long process. So who's the development company? Who's going to be the home construction company? What's the experience level in this? What are the dust control aspects, regulations the city has to put on them? There's water flow from the northeast toward the southwest. So you scrape off all that plant life, etc. You've got erosion issues and water flow during construction. There's trees along the fence line there that would have root base on the other property. You start developing there, what's going to be digging for basements, etc., to make sure those things aren't damaged. So many of those type of things. The other thing is, what are the restrictions on the home size? There's terrific views there. What's the height limit on a house? Because that can totally block what's there and a value to the property that exists around it right now. Oversized homes can completely destroy that. The other thing is, I'd be in favor of R20 versus the R12, just from the lot size. You obviously have on the west that size, and that means more space between. You retain some of the rural aspect of the environment that's been there for a long time. Other things would, existing fence that's around that property is the back fence for most of the properties adjacent to it. And is that going to be torn down, replaced? Again, you get into dust control, etc. I could get more specifics, but you get the general outline. I did drop one of these off the planning commission on Tuesday. You might have gotten it with those points. That's all I've got for the moment. So really, it's your consideration. Make it go well, because this. And the other thing is this a one? Is this going to? Obviously, it's not all going to be developed at once. But if it is, what are the phases so that you're not in a construction zone for 5 years? You don't have a bunch of vacant lots unsold with dust blowing off them, etc. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Eastman. I understand some of your concerns, and I think the applicant may be able to address some of those. One thing that we need to point out is our jurisdiction is somewhat limited to how broad of things we're dealing with tonight. We really hear about the zoning, and so some of the water flow issues would be addressed at a later time. Right now, it's just we're focusing on the zoning of this plat. But your comments have been noted, and we appreciate your input. And we do have your comments.
I will.
Thanks.
Steve Roof. I live at 78. Don't even know my address. Jeez. 1817 North, 275 East. So my lot is in the R120 zone, right dead smack in the middle of this.
There's actually a pointer up there. Do we have that?
It's okay. So I'm here representing 38 individuals. Those of you that are here that I've got your signature, would you just raise your hand so that the Planning Commission knows of this? And there's some that couldn't be here tonight. They really wanted to because of graduation. Our major concern is that, and of the 38 people, 3 of the 5 property owners have signed my petition to not have this changed to R112. What we're suggesting is that if it is changed, that it be changed to the R120 zone, which we currently are in. I had Mr. Diego Carroll, who's a traffic engineer at Parsons Brinkerhoff in Salt Lake, give me some statistics and some numbers. Under the current proposal, he said that it could increase traffic as much as 447 cars under the current proposal. I know that they're saying that they'll do bigger lots. However, what stops them once it's changed from zoning, especially where it's in multiple zones and where it's 4 different people developing it. Currently, the developer that is interested in doing the smaller lots is from Washington State. The other 4 here that 3 of which that have signed mine live here in Pleasant Grove. Actually, the 3 houses right there at the bottom of this. So, I mean, it's a difference of 201 traffic per day. So that's a major concern to us. So I would like to submit to Mr. Chairman, I don't know how this works, but I have this letter signed by the 38 individuals, which we are requesting that either the zoning be left the same or that the zoning be changed to the R120.
Okay. You're welcome to, if you want to get that paper to us, you can consider it.
Thank you.
Sorry, Carl. It's hard to get out of there. My name is Jan Van Orman. I live at 1848 North, 275 East, so I'm right across the street too. And I guess we ought to thank you guys for sorting through all these tough issues for us. We hope you will be wise and prudent. And I just want to start by saying I know Craig Smith, and I wouldn't speak ill of him for anything because I think he's one of the fine men who has grown up and is part of Pleasant Grove. And I think he would agree that longer-term development and dignity of Pleasant Grove is more important than a quick sale of the property that's being promoted by some members of the family who no longer reside in the state. Now, I don't know how that weighs into things, but I think we need to look at one of the last pieces of property, perhaps the last on the east side, that can provide a transition between the existing homes and the newer development, the newer growing part of Pleasant Grove. I have no idea if staying at R20 increases the tax base. I assume you consider things like that. It certainly increases the attractiveness of the community as you have a blending of newer development and more spacious green area for the city of trees. I also feel that there's the majority of the people in this room who are here on this issue, the vast majority who are here, have serious reservations about this. And I'm concerned that the city planner sort of slid over a lot of the really basic issues. The R10 development is substantially different than the R20 development. And that being proposed is a lot closer to the R10 than it is to the R20. I don't know what else to say other than Pleasant Grove has the possibility of really establishing its reputation as we grow and use well the very few pieces of property that are left for development. This land is precious in Pleasant Grove, and I would urge that it be developed in the most attractive, beneficial way for the long-term future of our city. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm Larry Huntsman. I live at 1849 North, 275 East. That's the dead end road. I'm in the middle house to the left. I have a couple of questions which are based on some concerns that I have, and it's been partially mentioned, but right now we have a traffic problem going down 1800. You cannot get across the road or onto the road. That increased traffic will just make it that much worse for all of us. You take your life in your hands every day, especially during rush hour morning and evening, and with the school crossing that's there on top of it. Another question I have is the property to the north of our subdivision, what is that currently zoned at?
You said you live where exactly?
In the blue.
So that's at the top. Rural residential.
Rural residential, which would make it
Make it half-acre lot.
half-acre lots. Okay, well, you know, the thing we're concerned about, at least I am to a certain extent, is how my property value is going to be affected. You know, one of the reasons I built there was for the fact that we would have the larger homes. I would get a return on my investment that I put into the property as well as my house. And I think that's how we all felt about it. I lived on the southeast side of Pleasant Grove for 38 years up on Battle Creek and then moved down to this home. Prior to that, I lived in Manila until I left home and got married.
So I'm very familiar with the area and the growth that's taken place. And, you know, I look at the houses that are, and that's not every house in the area, but I look at the houses down in the yellow, and there's a great share of those houses that are not in the best of condition. People have not maintained or kept them up. There seems to be a tendency for property at that size, quarter acre, they just are not maintained. That decreases our property value that much more, as well as causes problem. Half acre lot will ensure that people usually take care of it. They're not going to buy it if they can't. And that's one of the concerns I have. Yeah, they become rentals. And that's what happened to the neighborhood I moved out of. After 38 years, we got overrun with rentals. And those are quarter acre lots.
Is there anyone else who would like to come forward?
I'm Sasha Welker. I live at 556 East, 1300 North. And I lived in an area that was approved for R15, and then it got changed to R10. And I wish it would have stayed R15. I wish we had a bigger lot. And they crammed the houses in so close, and they're all on top of each other. So as buying an R10 house, I wish it would have been bigger. I wish it would have left the zoning bigger.
So you live in the just.
I live
south
up the street and around in a different
Okay.
part of the neighborhood. It's not on the map.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard?
Can I just say one other thing?
If you'll just,
Okay.
you'll need to state your name one more time.
Okay.
Because we're creating a record and so you to know who's speaking. That's-
Now I got to remember what I was going to say. Yeah, say my name.
Sit down again and you'll remember.
Yeah, I'll sit down and it will come back. Larry Huntsman again, 1849 North, 275 East. You know, one of the things that I should have said when I got up is, you know, people that have moved into the homes in the yellow, they moved in because it was something they could afford. There's no doubt about it. And the other part is, you've already said that the zoning that you would approve for this, they have an option to change that. We don't know what size lot's going to be built in there, unless you can lock it in right now. The only way you could possibly lock that in, I guess, is if you had an approved plat. And so that's one of the big concerns right there. I think that everybody is really worried about. You know, you may approve it one thing, but what's going to happen in reality?
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Brimhall. I represent the family from Washington, that part of the Smith family. They, along with Craig, it's Craig's sister who actually is a recipient of that property. They're family of mine. I'm a developer. I've developed in Pleasant Grove. I currently live in Mapleton, 1476 West Elkview Circle in Mapleton. Just a couple things. First of all, we're also on the agenda tonight for number 6 for the actual submittal of our plan. So what we submit tonight as our plan would actually be what we intend to do. So we're not trying to pull the wool over anyone or throw something out there and then pull back and go for something smaller. There's been a lot of talk about R10. We just need to remember that we are going for an R112, which is, it's not a quarter acre lot, but a third acre lot. So it was mentioned that there is, you know, that there is a transition going from a little bit smaller to larger and then up into the R120 lots. Our intention is to build and to develop this area in a very nice manner, something that would be a great asset to Pleasant Grove. We're not trying to come in and wham bam and just sell these out. Like I said, I'm a developer. I have quite a bit of experience. I took an area here in Pleasant Grove called Silver Fox subdivision that was an older area just down on 2nd South and 5th East. And we came in and put in 10 very nice lots in there with nice homes and really made the area nicer. You know, so I know there's a lot of people that think that that's just what's going to happen. And I'm just here to let you know that that's not our intention. We want to make this area nice. Members of the Smith family are going to live there. Some of them are in support of this. Some of them might not be, but those are the ones that aren't participating or wanting to do anything right now. And but the people that do own this property have the right to move forward and to try and do it in the best way that they feel. And I'm here to help them do that. So.
Can you give the name of your company?
Yeah, it's actually called Dos Amigos. We're not a Mexican restaurant. It's just two friends that do real estate developments. So I've done several hundred unit developments, from single family to multifamily. So.
Great, thank you.
Are we able to ask him questions or not? While he's at the microphone.
Yeah, so the answer is no, but you can come up and make your comments and then he can come back.
Stay close though. My name is Josh Hall, 1844 North, 320 East, New Pleasant Grove, third cul-de-sac up. As one of the 38s that have signed on to the opposition of this, I think it'd be important to understand with the rezoning, what would the potential lot count be? How many homes could possibly be crammed into that 44? What is it now? And what is the proposed plan that's going in?
Is what is the
24 to 44, and then the proposed plan would be where within that range?
Yeah, if we can just, we can't have you guys answering over there because then it's not recorded.
Oh,
So
sorry.
If that's your question and you're done, then
I
we
believe
can
I'm done.
have the applicant come back up and answer your question.
I just didn't want to stay there.
Barbara's got to go back and put the minutes together after this, and she's going to be really confused. There's comments all over the place, so go ahead.
I heard a couple numbers, 24 and 44. I don't see how that's physically possible given the density of the property. Right now, what's being applied for, like I said, on item number 6 is 10 lots. There are 7 lots that I'm representing the applicant on. And then there's the 3 lots that are also part of the family's lots, Craig Smith, and I believe some of his children are going to build on those 3 lots. So there's 1 or 2 other parcels or pieces to this property that those family members have decided to hold on. I believe those are the ones that have signed this petition that don't want it to go into a higher density. So to say that it's going to be any more than, I would probably say 16 or lots, given the zone, I can't read their minds and what they're going to do down the road, but what's being applied for is 10, and they are a mixture of 1 acre to 3rd acre lots. So nothing smaller than that.
Great, thank you.
Carla Roof, 1817 North, 275 East. Again, I'm just across from there. A couple things, like he was saying, the people who have signed this petition. If you look up, I can't see the number, but where is it? There's the pointer.
Yeah. Maybe try that little triangle that's on the.
Yeah. Okay. Right here. Yes. Okay. So right now there's horses and animals and all of those kinds of things in here. I don't know what happens when you change it down to 112, but my understanding is that those animal rights and all of those things go away, and they currently have that, and they do not want this change. Once you change it down to that, you can never get it back. These people who have signed this petition and do not want it, this is not their plan. They want something completely different than what they want. And the problem is, once you go down to 112, you can never get it back. And maybe you guys can answer this. What happens? You switch it down to 112. These people have their animals and everything on this land. They no longer have animal rights. Are they expected to just get rid of them? Are they expected to, does that just go away completely?
Doesn't it, I think, believe their grandfather, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're.
Unless they decide to get rid of it themselves, they can't
expand it and turn it into a horse ranch necessarily, but they can maintain the horses there until they decide not to.
And once, I mean, they can never get it back after you make this change. One thing that I don't understand is if they're claiming that our plan is not to go down to these little tiny lots, I think where the number 44 came from is mathematically, that's how many you can fit into that. Maybe, you know, as you try to fit the roads and everything, it would be difficult to get to that. But I think we've all seen subdivisions where that has happened. They cram them in as much as they possibly can. So if these lots, does it truly need to go down to 112 for even that to happen? I don't think it does. If they're saying, so we don't, I guess what I'm saying is, why are we trying to make it 112 if it doesn't need to be that? And then just one other point on the traffic issue. Not only will it increase traffic to have higher density like that, there already is a problem on that corner right there. My understanding is we've already had an accident with a kid getting hit sitting in this room. So I think that's something very serious to take into consideration with the traffic issue. And that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward?
I want to say something else. Since we're having a good old brouhaha. Jan Van Orman, 1848 North, 275 East. I spent my career developing communities throughout Latin America, supporting grassroots development. It was an experiment in promoting democracy, and it worked. And we moved into this little community because our kids are in Pleasant Grove. And that little blue community right there has a spirit that I certainly didn't feel down in Provo when we lived there, and I didn't feel other places we've lived. And part of it is because we're all new, but we've got quite young families and, like myself, some pretty old families. We got little kids and we've got those who are empty nesters. And we get together virtually every holiday. The whole neighborhood gets together. Last Christmas, everybody exchanged little gifts with everybody else, walked the neighborhood. We didn't know anybody before, but it's something that I don't see very often. It's unique and it's precious. And I think that that will extend if we extend the character of that community into this new development area. If we turn it into something that's more parcelized, I think we lose a little bit of momentum we have toward building the community that Pleasant Grove really needs. We need to come together on a public safety building. We need to figure out what to do. We need to come together on dealing with the issues of development, the tax base and the roads and all the many other things. And I see a sense of community that's cohesive, and the majority of the people are here tonight and all opposed to developing it down to smaller lots. Yesterday's R10 is today's R12. That's no transition or step up. And I see the people speaking in favor of it, the developers having a short-term profit interest in it. And we have a community interest that's much longer term. I think there's something significant to consider here, and I hope you'll do that.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to be heard at this time?
Public speaking is like what, #1 in fear in the United States? Anyway, I'm Emily Berry. I live at 1886 North, 320 East. I'm at the top circle there. My son was hit by a car. My 14-year-old son was hit by a car at that intersection, and it's a problem right now. Adding all these homes, it's going to happen. I already know that. I mean, it's a vacant lot. Land is valuable. Homes will go in there. But adding that amount of traffic down that road is scary to me. All the kids that live up there walk across that crosswalk on Canyon Road to go to school and to the church building. And it's super dangerous. And my son had done nothing wrong. He was crossing the road on the crosswalk. The cars had stopped for him. But this car didn't know that the car turning left was stopped for a kid crossing the crosswalk and was going 40 miles an hour when he hit him. It was scary. He flipped off his bike, and fortunately, I mean, the paramedics came and said, "You're lucky to be alive." It was scary. Anyway, so traffic is a huge issue, but I already know that houses will go in there. So I hope that when you consider the housing that goes in there, that the traffic will be taken care of too. But I just wanted to point out that when I drive around Pleasant Grove, I love it. We moved here from Orem just 2 years ago, and it's got such a small town, just quiet, quaint area. It's so beautiful here. But the majority of the homes in Pleasant Grove seem to be lower income, smaller lots. And the land that's left in Pleasant Grove, it just seems beneficial to the city to have some bigger homes, bigger lots, to draw in wealthier people, to bring in some money to Pleasant Grove. It seems like it just makes sense to me to have some bigger homes in the area. So as far as making the lots smaller, I think they need to be kept bigger just to draw that in. And also the people that own this, some of the families that own this property are against it. One, because when they do develop their land, they want to keep their animal rights. And yeah, now they'll be grandfathered in right now, but when they sell their properties and develop it, they won't. So I think out of respect for the majority of the landowners right there, it would be nice to keep how it is.
A quick question for you. Was your son crossing 100 East when he got hit?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, Canyon Road 100 East, yeah.
1800.
And 1800 North, yeah. It's a
Or was he
busy.
crossing 100 East when he got hit?
Mhm. Yeah.
My name is Judith Eastman. I live at 355 which looks like 329 East, or 325, I guess it is. So I'm just at that corner. My husband and I just moved there in April. We're empty nesters. We have children in the community. I wanted to stay in the ward that I was in, and so we were looking at possibilities of houses. And that little street, 1640 North, they're smaller lots, but they are extremely well kept. And when we saw the house that we moved into, it's just a little tri-level, but looking onto that field, it made it so desirable. We had the mountains behind it. We have views all around us. And so the value of the home in our mind was not in the house, but in the lot itself. And even though we're the smaller lots, we knew that there would probably be development on that land. We believe people have the right to develop their land, but there is a responsibility to the community that's grown up around that land. The statement was made that most people on smaller lots don't maintain their homes as well as people on larger lots, but people do maintain their homes on smaller lots as well as on larger lots. What's going to happen is as this community ages, the desirability for single families to move into these homes, if it's built up too much, is going to be diminished, and you're going to see an increase of rental in this area along these little quarter-acre lots that are there because people, they'll just be moving, they'll move out of an area that has a lot of growth behind them, no concern for the height of the buildings that are being built, homes that are being built. There are designs that can be placed on lots that blend in with the surroundings, with the area, so that they complement rather than distract. And I think that this needs to really be looked at carefully so that we as a community come together. I think that there's a consensus of opinion in this room tonight about what we'd like to see. It's like we don't want to limit development. We just want it to be wise. We want it to fit in with the personality of the community. We want it to be a wonderful asset to the community. We moved from Sandy
I love Pleasant Grove. I love Utah County. Pleasant Grove has issues with zoning throughout the community. I think we're all aware of that. This doesn't have to be a problem. This can be an asset. And if we're not careful about the development, it will become a problem.
Thank you.
Catherine Tyler. I'm at 1818 North, 275 East. I wanted to thank the lady who just spoke because that's exactly what we did, what happened to our last neighborhood. We were on the battlefield in an older home, and the lot behind us was built. And it was brought to the community, and the majority opposed to it, but the city went on and built. And the basement level was having complete view to our house. We had to move because it was not possible to live in those conditions. I hope we as a neighborhood, we as a community have a voice that can be heard.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment at this time? If not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this hearing and bring it up here to the commission. And I think this would be an appropriate one to see what each of you think on this.
Do you want each one to talk?
We can have some open discussion first, and then I'd like to go down and just kind of see what each of your opinions are. So,
The scope that we work within is we're being requested to do a zoning that is qualified for that. So technically, we can't deny something that fits into that category. As far as the emotions and the issues and the concerns that you all voiced, I took notes. And the issue we have as a commission is if we do not have factual basis to make those decisions, then we can't deny this development. So even though you came in with a lot of good ideas and concerns and everything else, we really don't have a facts base. We don't have a report. We don't have any kind of findings that would allow us to not go forward with this development. So my suggestion is, I'm going to have to approve this request, but it's going to go in front of the city council, and they'll have to give approval. And so if you can get factual documentation of some of the stuff that you're concerned about, you could bring it up to them, and then they would have that opportunity that with some factual, because if we deny it, we can go into an appeal, and we don't have a factual base to actually win an appeal. So that's my suggestion for you, is if you can come up with an actual documentation and then bring that up with them. But as it stands right now, nobody submitted me anything that I can use personally to deny this request.
let me just ask a question for Dagan, maybe and Royce, along those lines, because Mr. Roop said that he had a traffic study done. Are you aware of that at all, Dagan? Do you know of any?
Not a study. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I probably misstated that.
It's not a study. I spoke with him and said, do you want me to come to the mic? It's not a study, so it's not a study.
I think he knows, so yeah,
Okay.
let's just see what.
So yeah, you talked to a traffic engineer who said that if you had this number of homes, you'd expect this much traffic on a daily basis.
Okay.
So the city's transportation master plan is based on the general plan. So the general plan indicates that this property would likely at some point in time be rezoned. And what the city has established as the acceptable zones per the general plan would be the R112 and R115. So as we look at build out traffic demand within the city and decide what roads need to be, that all goes into it. We look at the assumption is everything will build to the maximum potential, and we built the master plan around it. 1800 North is a collector street. It's designed to move traffic at a higher volume and a higher speed. The master plan identifies the intersection of 1800 North and First East as a location that would eventually, based on modeling, need to have a traffic signal. At some point in time, the traffic frustrations, which you see there, get to the point where it triggers the minimum requirements for a signal. And at that point in time, and it's the city council's decision or responsibility to allocate resources to address that. So it's been a while since we've looked at a traffic signal warrant study there. The road, First East used to be a state highway, and I could call it UDOT and they could look at that. It's been recently transferred from the state to the county. I'll have to look and see what the county does in regards to that. Last time it was studied, it did not qualify, did not have enough traffic to warrant having a signal. That was after most of the homes had been constructed.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that there wasn't some traffic report submitted, something factual, but it sounds like there wasn't in this case. Lisa, did you have any comment you'd like to make?
Not right now.
Okay.
I'd like to kind of hear what everybody else.
Okay, no problem. Scott, do you have?
Well, it's just kind of observing, what, I've kind of gone to item 6, which covers a lot of the lots, and looking at those. And I think there's 23 lots. Is that correct? I think proposed. We have the wrong paper.
23 is at 7.
I know it says 23, but I only count 18.
Royce, can you clarify that at all?
So I don't have the most recent.
No, you're right. It is 18. I'm sorry. It is 18.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so I apologize. I don't know what it counts.
It says right there.
Yes, that's why I was reading up there. It is 18.
Okay.
And I look at kind of an average. I just kind of did a quick average, amongst those 18 lots, that are proposed and going from 1800 north down south. And we have an average acreage there of 0.52, which is greater than. I'm just stating the fact that which is greater than what you see in the rural residential, which is a minimum 0.50. Okay, so and 8 out of the 18 lots are in that third of an acre range, and the other parts are anywhere from 0.79, 0.77, all the way up to 0.4s, which is just right below under half an acre. So I'm not seeing the fact, it is zone R1, 10, excuse me, 12, R1 12 there, and I guess this could, the lots, because we're talking about zoning tonight, the lots, I guess this is being proposed tonight, so. So we're seeing 18 lots right here with you that don't have that they're all basically there's just a couple that are under 0.3 of an acre. 0.33 would be a third of an acre, and most of them, and that's only 8 of them that are in that range. 8 out of 18, the others are above that, above 0.40, all the way up to 0.7, to an average. The average out of those is 0.52. So I'm not seeing. Personally, myself, we're going to have 12,000 square foot lots. I think we're looking more like 13, 14, 15,000. Half acre is 21,000 or 20 and change. 1,000 square foot lots, and so I think I heard someone say about R1, R115, R115, yeah. That I think we're there or above that. With this, so I think the concerns that, we got a thing that we're going to discuss here in a couple agenda items here, which I think address a lot of the issues that you're talking about. It's not as bad as what you think, as what you perceive it to be, in that sense. Yes, it's probably more than what you have now, from the rural residential. Right now, you don't have anything in there, so, but we also, as Commissioner Batista said, we can't deny someone's the ability to develop their own property because you're limiting their property rights as well, even though it may not affect what we're trying to do. Now, some of you may agree or disagree with what I'm saying, but that's kind of up front. That's generally what I see. I'm I'm not opposed to you. I live in Manila where I have an acre lot, so I understand what you're saying. You know, but when you're looking at a total perspective there, you know, going through the zoning there, I think I don't quite see the concerns that I'm hearing from the other people. That's my
Thank you. Dylan, do you have anything to say?
I do. Yeah. And I think as I look at this, and I've been kind of looking at the numbers on this, and I hear what Scott's saying. I agree with that. We're averaging closer, you know, high end R115 type stuff. So why are we taking it down that low? Why do we need 112?
That's what my question would be. Do we have, and can we not say R115?
Our hands aren't tied.
Right,
We're not
right.
here to, we don't have to comply just because they came here and they're following procedures. Our hands aren't tied. Yes, it does go on to the city council, but my question is always, and we've had these things come up before, the board, what do we call us, commission, and in those settings where we've actually pushed it back on them and said we don't need it that small, we can do it this and still get by, and they do, they get along great. So I'm more of the opinion that we're already there at 115. Why do we need to push it down to R110 if they're asking for it? Even R19, whatever. I'm just making a point that if they want to go down that low, we don't need to go that low just because they ask for it or because they comply with everything. That's what this is all about. This is what the due process is about. So that's my opinion. I think I hear what the neighbors are saying, and I think that's why we're doing this. It's not because we are the government or we are the volunteers before the government. We're the public and we have this opportunity.
So just with that being said, I agree with your R115. Does that affect what they want to do on item 6?
It does.
Because there's a couple that are.
On probably about 8 lots.
If we do lot size averaging, it does not.
Is that been looked at?
What do you say, Weiss?
Look at the number of lots again on the plat, and I don't think that would work.
See, I only see this one and this one that are 23 here smaller. And then these are close.
So again, if they're gonna stick with R112 as their application, and that's what they want to do, if we're gonna say, no, you have to do R115, we have to have a good reason for it. So, I mean, it's supported by the general plan, but we need to be able to say.
What does the general plan say as far as, I mean, can we go to R19? Or, you know what I'm saying, can we go lower still? Because if we have that opportunity to go a little lower.
Yeah, it's only 2 options. You have R112 or R115, and that's all that's allowed in our general.
But if we go R115, this item 6 doesn't.
So I think what, Dagan and Royce, I think what.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, you can't say, we're not gonna let you do R112, we're gonna make you do R115. You can say, we'll approve it with a recommendation that the applicant chooses to do R115.
And I'm not saying that we're forcing one or the other, but what is the, what do we have as far as the guidelines that say we have this option for 115 or 112? What puts this in place on those?
So the general plan area, like I was showing in the slide a little bit ago, they're in the low density residential area. And so the low density residential area, you can do R112 or R115. And to get a different zoning than that, you'd have to change the general plan, which I'm pretty confident the same would happen. I mean, I guess it's likely, but it's not really that likely. So anyways, that's what they're limited to, 12 or 15.
And even only 8 out of the 18 lots would fit in their apartment. Yeah.
Which is
well, if you look
not
at
quite happening.
And most of them are 12 or 13 or even 14.
Thanks, Dylan. Amy, did you have any input?
I agree with like if there was a way that we could not go with the absolute lowest for the zone.
You can make a recommendation, so if you'd like to do that.
So yeah, so we have the ability then to approve the R112 with the recommendation that the developer consider it R15, but then. That doesn't do anything. It does.
Because you're making a recommendation to the city council. So yeah, you can. So I would say.
So does the city council then say R115 and?
Well, again, it goes to what our legal rights are.
Right.
How much can we mandate that in the city council?
So I guess I agree with, I mean, I guess what I would say is that we've got some very intelligent commissioners here, and I think they've all given some good input. Commissioner Bautista is correct. I mean, we have to typically, to find and deny something, we've got to show that it's going to affect the health, safety, welfare, and we've got to base that on evidence, on substantial, factual, I'm sorry, substantial is probably not the word to use, but factual evidence. And so these are difficult for us as commissioners because it's hard to tell somebody you don't own that view, you don't own that property, the property owner owns that property. And when they are applying for something that's within code, and we don't have facts that it affects the health, safety, or welfare, it puts us in a difficult place. So, because we don't want to diminish your concerns at all. Let me look at my notes here. I have a few. I know I've got notes that are scribbled everywhere. I guess I would give you the commission a few of my personal opinions on some of these. I don't think that R112, which is 30-acre lots, attracts hoodlums and rural. I think many commissioners here, probably except Scott, live in those same areas, and I don't think it attracts low-income, troublesome people. And so I would disagree with that. But I think you guys are right. What do you guys think? Do you think are you guys leaning towards giving a recommendation, or?
Well, I agree. I think that we're in a pretty difficult situation because on one hand, we want to make sure we please our citizens and keep our community thriving, but at the same time, like you said, it is the property owner's property, and there's a reason that they want to own that property too. So I think we're in a bit of a difficult spot.
It's actually pretty easy. We just pass out the city council.
Yeah, take that off the record. The city council, they do want to know why, what our basis is for one way or the other, and so I think we need to. But again, I think it goes back to what Jennifer said. If we were to deny this, we've got to have, we're obligated to have findings of fact.
And I understand what the general consensus of, as my opinion was that they're worried that if we approve this, that they're just going to come in and, do the lots as small as the zoning will allow. And it's really.
It's got a lot line. I mean,
Well, he does, and that was my question. I mean, are we, does he get held to
It's got to put her
that?
down, so that would, if it's approved there, you have to go through the process again to change it, to do that, so.
Excuse me, is there a chance to ask a question pursuant to a statement you made just now?
You know what, the public session has been closed for comment, and so, but, Scott, if we can reopen that back up.
Yeah, if you can, if you have that option, but you have to reopen it. Close it. Let's finish what
Yeah, what I'll do is I'm gonna finish what I'm doing here. I will open it up, but I don't want to get into everybody just rehashing it one more time and going back through your opinions. We understand your opinions. We do. We understand your points that they've been duly noted, and we're considering those now. So if you'll give me a minute, then we can probably open it back up for one more question.
Again, I think I am, yes, I would like a larger, than what it is. But I think, the spirit of the subdivision that's being submitted tonight, I think meets, for the most part, most of the properties in that. And I think those smaller parcels, and 0.29 is not a small parcel. It's still a decent sized parcel, and you can still put a nice house on a 0.29 parcel. seen many of those things done, so it's not like you're putting a cheap house on, it's still a nice parcel. And, you know, so I think for the most part, 8 out of 18 are under that 0.3, and I think the smallest one's 0.29, so that's not much smaller than that. So I think, yes, I would like to go R115, but I think the R112 would work in here because what the developers is proposing is it's the spirit of what everyone's talking about as a whole, not individually.
My feeling is that, yeah, when you look at it like that, you look at what's actually proposed in item 6, it's actually, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I initially thought it was gonna be after all the public comment. I mean, we're right about there. We can only be R112 or R115, and so most of them are almost right there. We're just.
The average lot size is in the zoning they have now.
Yeah.
The average lot size.
This probably doesn't, I don't know, but also in developing this, you get that throughway road, which will help cut down on the traffic on the.
On the 1800 and 100. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, anything else from the commissioners? Okay, with high reservation, I'm going to open this back up for public comment, but I just ask that it be very brief, and if it gets back to where we're rehashing the same things, I think I'm gonna put a stop to it, so go ahead now.
My name is Judith Eastman. I live at 355 East, 1640 North in Pleasant Grove. The question that I have comes to a term that you used when you were addressing that we have not proved that we, by our comments here tonight, that it has anything to do with the health, safety, or welfare, that this development, we have not proved that it would impact the health, safety, or welfare of the neighborhood. I would just suggest that we consider, does the plan itself protect the health, welfare, and safety of the community? We have to prove that it doesn't, but have they been asked to prove that it does?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead and address that.
Right now, we are just approving a zone, we're not approving the development. That's going to be further on. As a zone, it's in our master plan. We have to, abide by what the law restricts us to. When it comes to the development of the property, then we have a little bit more say on this, on whether or not that it follows the safety and welfare of the community. And that's staff's responsibility to make sure that when it comes forward, we have that information. And if it doesn't fit that, then we get those informations and then we can make suggestions or we can deny it that way. But right now, we're just looking at zoning and just a piece of property. And so we have to be restricted to what we are looking at. So if you want to stick around for item 6, then we can probably get into that discussion a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm gonna allow Mr. Roof to have one more comment and then we'll.
Mine's actually a question. Why do we have to change it to 12 or 15? Why, if we're here, because it's 20, it's rural residential. Why are we changing it?
Actually, it's larger.
I know, so why isn't that an option that you can say you can't change it? Why does it have to be 12 or 15? Can't it be, no, the zone is the zone and it stays the zone. Why does it only have to be 12 or 15? I know that he'll say this master plan, does the master plan cover or does the zone cover what it is? And you guys can maybe, I don't know that, but I just say, why does this, and my question is, why can we not table this and let us produce, I would be happy to produce a traffic study. I'll pay for it and I'll have it done.
To answer your question, your first question is, it's in the master plan, it's allowable. It also has property rights. So the people that own the property have come and requested this from us and it's allowed. So that's why we technically, we could tell them no, but they would have an appeal, and right now, we don't have significant evidence for that appeal to be, you know, approved. We would lose that appeal.
So can we have time to produce that?
Well,
Because
I just-
I mean,
Yeah, I'm just telling you, this is just step one. It's gonna go through another process.
So you can watch for it to be on the city council agenda.
Yeah, we are just a recommendation. We don't actually vote to make the change. We're a recommendation to the council. The council is the one that actually.
I understand that. And I just have one other, this is just a general question because I don't.
Just one question.
So, I'll sit down then.
All right, if you want to briefly.
It's just, what's the planning committee? Are they to represent the people or the developers? That's just a question. The city or neither? Okay, just a question. I know who the city council represents, but I don't know the planning commission.
Yeah.
So that's why
All right, we'll let the applicant give a very brief statement.
I will be
brief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I will be brief. Just want to address some of the issues. Of course, regarding fugitive dust or any of the erosion issues, that'll be covered in the SWIP plan as per city standards. The developer, the property owners, Mr. Smith, he's the only property owner, by the way, of this parcel. So to talk about other property owners, he has promised land to family members, but he is the owner of the property right now. So just want to be clear on that. In addition, the reason why it's R12 request is because we've met with the transportation master plan requires, and that is to tie into 320 East and 270 East. To do that, to fit lots in between that, they had to be the greater than the R12 size, but not meet the R15 size. And so it's just a matter of the physical constraints of the property and meeting the transportation master plan. We've met with the city and I believe done everything that's been asked to meet with the plan and the intention of the subdivision and the development plan. So with that, just wanted to mention it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and close the public session again and bring it back up here. Any additional comments? Anybody would like to make this time? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I'll move. The planning commission recommend that the city council approve the request of Lars Anderson to rezone approximately 12.32 acres located at approximately 1640 north, 300 east from the RR zone to the R112 zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report and as modified in the conditions below, which we have.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bautista, a second by Commissioner Richards. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes. Yes. You want to, I need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we take a 5-minute break.
Second. Okay. Got a motion by Commissioner Smith for
Right,
the 5
she
minute
doesn't
break and second by Commissioner Richards. So we'll have a 5-minute recess. Hired.
I just told Heather.
They can't averages 0.5, but they can't help. They can't. There's not be aware of the contract against it says that they are changing this plan. I want to find out. All the houses back in my property, there's 70% rentals.
Yeah.
It's rental owner, rental owner, and the rentals, the owners are the ones who are taking it. We came from Travelers Mountain, where it's very, very small lots. And you can just like and there would never be a rental. There would be a renter for day one. And those
smaller lots in there. They can do it. There's 2,000 square feet there. Your rental room, they want here.
Well, Jeremy called and talked to me too, when he says it's, they'll evaluate. So the city will not pay for an updated evaluation for 5 years on that journey. And they did it right before we did. So we still have 3 more years before they'll do the evaluation. It's no longer the city's property.
It's actually county.
I know they said the county will pay for 5 years. So we called about like what about the flag? So they sent us to the school about the flag. I don't know. She can be in charge and she can do the garage sale and stuff. Well, have traffic stops. He should know. Because I don't know. I asked him for a flag when he sent us to the school for the flag. The school goes back to the city, and then they just send it back to the school. And I'm like, holy crap.
So Olivia was trying to cross the side, it was really busy, and there's one car that would stop on the other side. So the lady got out of the car and was like flagging down the other people to stop. It's dangerous. It's so God.
Okay, we're gonna be on item number 3 is gonna continue. Yep. Can I get a ride home? Sure, thank you. Just make sure you use your mic. All right, item 3's been continued. We are on item 4. If we can take any discussion outside of the room, please, because we're going to continue on at this time. Item number 4, public hearing to consider the request of Rich Warburton for a conditional use permit to allow a waiver of protest that would waive the requirement for street improvement installation on property located at 921 East 100 North in the R19 single family residential zone. Royce.
Okay, so the city code has a requirement for anybody who's doing a remodel on their home that exceeds $30,000 that they need to come in and get that they need to put in street improvements. First of all, if they don't want to do that, they can request a conditional use permit. It's a waiver of protest, and what that means is that they don't have to install the street improvements if it's granted. However, they waive their right to protest the city requiring them to put it in later. So we've had quite a few of these requests, but just to review that. So this is the property here. So there are currently street improvements along the front of the home that extend along 100 North all the way out to connect to other street improvements. So along 900 East, though, where the improvements are currently while we're looking at putting in improvements. There's nothing here, and then there's also nothing on either side of the street. So based on an analysis of pedestrian transportation connections, there are some gaps here along 100 North, but that's pretty continuous. But along 900 East here, there's water towers and, or not water towers, but water tanks, city property up there, which is gated off and not open for public access. So my initial analysis in looking at that, I thought, well, what's the point of a connection? But our community development director pointed out that this property here, which is kind of an L-shaped property, there has been significant interest in the last year in developing that property, either subdividing and developing it or developing it further as it is. So if development occurred on that property, there would be requirements to put in street improvements here along the frontage here. So because that is adjacent to this property and we see that as a somewhat imminent thing, planning recommends denial of the conditional use permit request, requiring the applicant to put in the street improvements in connection with the improvements on their home. We've also discussed this with engineering staff, and well, ever since I've been here, he's always recommended denial, but he recommends denial again. He likes to see the sidewalks put in so that we can have proper drainage and everything work out from an engineering standpoint. So let's see, I'm going to show some photographs here, just to kind of give you an idea of how things look there. This is looking up 900 East. This is looking to the north from 100 North. So again, this is where the improvements would go. I know the applicant has expressed some concern about having to take the fence out and so on. And these things are definitely connected with putting in street improvements. There are generally changes to the perimeter of the property. However,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Does the property end at the fence, or
you know, I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I would imagine somewhere
I can
around
ask
there.
the applicant, that's right.
So to truly get a property line, we'd probably have to have a survey unless the applicant still knows exactly where it is. However, I've talked to the engineer and to our community development director, and we're looking at the possibility of pursuing a variance on this street here. As you can see, this is not very wide, so it's a little bit over 20 feet. The current road width requirement is 56 feet for the right-of-way, so that includes a curb and gutter, park strip, and sidewalk. So the road would have to be widened under that standard. As I said, we are looking at requesting a variance to reduce the road width requirement because that is not going anywhere significant. And that section of road is more similar to a flag lot stem than it is to a road. So, but again, the sidewalk requirements and other street improvements, curb and gutter and so on would be still required per code. And then here's a view, oops, along 100 East showing where the street improvements end. So just come around this corner and go up the street. So are there any questions on this item?
Any questions?
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
Royce.
you.
Is the applicant present? Mr. Warburton?
I'm Rich Warburton, 1025 East, 100 North. I just left up the street from this. The reason why we're asking for conditional use permit is that road dead ends. The two property owners up the street, I have a letter from them. They don't want a sidewalk in there. There's no through traffic on that road because it goes into the city water tanks. I'm all for, development and making it look nice. There's 5 fairly good sized trees. You're looking at one. But there's about a 50-year-old tree that's on the very back that would be pulled out, on top of that in the fence. If there was walkway, if there was reason for it, people walking down it, maybe, a little bit of water flow, but gosh, I don't know, the water flow that comes off is usually off the city's water tanks that get overflowed. So I don't know. Anyway, that's why we're asking for our conditional use permit.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you. We will go ahead and open this up to public comment. If anybody would like to say anything.
I'm Richard Johnston, 345 North, 700 East. My mother's in the process of buying this home, and she's here. 70-year-old widow. My sister actually purchased the property that Mr. Davis mentioned that there's been a lot of interest in. She purchased the property, and that piece that he mentioned, the L-shaped piece, is actually her backyard, and she is not interested in having a sidewalk either. The two homeowners on the street both signed a letter, Rich has it, that say they don't want the sidewalk there. The water drainage actually flows into my sister's backyard, that L-shaped piece that he mentioned there was a lot of interest in. And the trees along there are old growth trees that would have to be torn out, that the sidewalk would lead to nowhere. I'd have to go over and shovel it because it's my mom. And I'd have to shovel my sister's walk while I'm there because I can't stop at my mom's walk. And the only people that would use the sidewalk would be people going up to trespass on the city property. So it's, none of the neighbors want it. It's an invitation to go up a dead-end street. No one would use the sidewalk other than me that would have to shovel it. So, and as far as for developing that L-shaped piece, my sister just bought it. They're both two single ladies living next door to each other, neither with an interest in developing any further. So anyway, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment at this time? Board, sir?
I'm Dave Watson, live at 924 East 100 North. It's just across the street. When the street was improved with the sidewalk coming down, you can see the end of it where it's broken off there. The city was considering requiring them to continue the sidewalk and go up the side. But it would have taken out that beautiful maple tree right there. Like you say, it would go to nowhere. It's never been used as a walking access at all. So back then they just kind of backed off, and you can see the rubble at the end of the sidewalk. That's where it ended. And I would suggest that there's no need for a sidewalk to go up that street.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment?
Irene Johnston, 1795 South, 340 East, Orem, Utah. I would just like to say I'd much rather have trees than sidewalk right there, and it's fine with me. And the other neighbors don't want it. I don't think it's a necessity. It's added expense, and I just think live and let live, especially the trees.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have your names?
Irene Johnston.
Irene? Irene Johnston. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? If not, we'll go ahead and close the public comment session at this time and bring it up here to the commission. I know that we see these quite a bit, so any input from any of the commissioners? Amy, did you have?
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually for taking the opportunity to finish up the sidewalks, but in this particular scenario, I don't necessarily see the need. Yeah. Anybody else?
So Royce, I got some questions. So you talked about you had to seek a variance because what's planned there as far as the width of the road is not an accurate or not a appropriate width for the traffic that you have on there, because it's kind of a dead end road up there. Is that, I think that's what I'm hearing.
That's
and so what I'm hearing you say is that it needs to probably have a narrower width, but that's still yet to be identified as to what that would be. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, and it could be that we won't seek the variance. Like I said, we've just expressed some interest in that because it is narrower. But with that, we haven't
You will or will not seek the variance?
We may not. We're looking at it as something that is likely. But we won't seek the variance for the street improvements along that street because we see that as important.
What was the last part you said? Sorry.
So we do see the street improvements as important along that street as with everywhere. And so we won't be seeking the variance for the street improvements, but we potentially seek the variance for the width of the road so it doesn't encroach on people's properties to the extent that it was.
Do you have any preliminary thoughts as to what the difference is in that width?
Not really. I mean, you probably have to.
Are we premature in doing this? Obviously, I think in a sense, because you don't even know how that would affect, the homeowners don't have any idea as to how that would affect their properties because they don't know how far into it. I've heard about, okay, that'll take out the tree or this, that, maybe a narrower width may not cause that. You know, I'm not even addressing the sidewalk right now when I'm just talking about the variance.
Right.
You know, in that sense, and so why go with why do the engineering on something where you could possibly have a narrower requirement as a result of that? To me, I don't think I'd be comfortable in going that route, especially when there's a possibility it could be narrowed and the homeowners not knowing what that new distance is or that new width is, you know, because that could change a lot. That could mean a lot of money, you know, difference wise too.
Right.
So I don't know. I think the sidewalk, you know, I can see, you know, I can see where it would benefit going around the corner. It would actually look nicer to do that, but I hear the concern of the homeowners where, you know, I don't know how many houses are up there. What about 4 or 5?
Two.
Okay.
And they can sign the letter.
All
They
right,
don't want.
so we got two houses, you know, that these sidewalks are serving. You know, and I don't see where it's a really traffic safety, in my opinion, anyway. But I think that's beside the point. I think the first thing needs to be addressed is, I think these homeowners have the right to know what that variance would be. And especially, because it's obvious you don't think that the width right now is proper. So, I don't know, I think I would lean towards continuing this until we have what that information is.
Yeah, and my understanding from talking to Dagan about it is that it's not necessarily going to be addressed until those improvements are ready to be put in. And so when we take care of
But why wouldn't you address it before you plan on those improvements?
So like I said, you'd have to talk to Dagan more about it because
Well, because Dagan's not here.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Time the city decided. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, my knowledge on it, I just know that we were looking at pursuing a variance. And so as far as width, it could be that something that Dagan has looked into. I'm just not aware of particularly what that is.
But at the time the city decides to improve that area of the road, they could force the owners.
Well, I'm not talking about approval of the waiver right at this point in time. What I'm doing is continuation.
Right,
Until
no,
I
I
get what that number, until we see what that number. Right now, we
Yeah,
don't
but
have
he's
all the,
saying-
we don't
but
have
you're
all the
saying we're not
potential.
doing it.
We don't have all the potential information.
Right.
They're not doing it at, they still want to put the curbs and gutters in there. That's what he's saying. You know, it may not be the width that we're talking about, but they don't know what that width is because that variance hasn't been addressed.
Well, just a quick question with that, Royce. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, so let's say we have just our standard, you know, this comes before on a standard road that's not a more narrow road and the owner's obligated to pay those costs for improvement. So you're saying that in this case, if the road needed to be widened, you didn't grant the variance, then they would potentially be exposed to even more cost than a typical scenario.
Right. So because the road is so narrow, like I said, it's a 56-foot width, and I'm not sure how wide that road is. I haven't gone out there with a tape measure, but it's not 56 feet wide.
Okay.
And so, with the road widening to that extent, there definitely would be encroachment on the surrounding properties. So that's again one reason why we're looking at just keeping it narrower, because again, traffic volumes aren't very high there, but there's potential for development up there. Address that possibility.
There's the potential for development.
So like I said, there is, like, even though it's been expressed.
It can't Your water tank is at the top of that road, it can't be developed.
I'm saying that that L-shaped lot can't physically be developed.
It's only one lot and there's already a house on it. It's one lot and it's a house on it. My sister just bought it.
I'm just saying there's a potential for that to be subdivided.
Subdivided?
Oh.
No.
Well, maybe not by the current
There's a
owners, but
potential
in 20
for
years,
it.
so it's forward thinking.
Right. It could be 50
Yeah.
years, but it's there is a
But
potential.
that would make it 3 houses on the whole street and then a street.
Right.
There's 2 now.
How big is the lot, right? How big is that lot?
80 feet wide.
Yeah, 80 feet.
80 feet wide.
So it doesn't even fit a lot size.
Doesn't meet the front. Let's bring it back up here because we have closed the session. You guys have any other input? Lisa or Jennifer?
I don't think I have enough information. I really don't.
I don't know what the zoning is right there.
My
Do we know the
position-
zone- I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
What's the zoning up there?
There's R19.
And what are the lots up, do we know what the size lots are up there?
She said a lot up there, he said it's 80 foot wide.
Well, the L-shaped portion, I think. Right. So, okay, so if we continue this, then they can't move forward with their remodel permit.
That's true.
So we hold them up on their,
For 2 weeks. Right?
well,
At
at least 2
At
weeks.
least 2 weeks, right?
Right.
At least 2 weeks.
What is the applicant trying to start? What is the applicant?
Here. How soon are you looking to start the remodel?
Yesterday.
The remodel's in the middle of it. It's ready for a 4-way. It started out as a very simple remodel. The house is in great condition. It was built in 1947. But as you started digging into it, hey, let's replace the electrical because it's a 2-wire without a ground. Let's replace the plumbing. So you exceed $30,000. If you remodeled your kitchen, you'll exceed $30,000. That's why now we're asked to put a sidewalk in. You're trying to do things on the up and up in the city, but the bad guy in me comes out and says, why did I go get a permit? Nobody would have known. So it was, well, I'm being honest.
I think we understand.
And so what I'm saying is you're setting a precedence. Why does somebody want to go get a permit to remodel their house or do what's right when we have to table something like this on a simple remodel? We put a roof on, windows in, and change out some plumbing and one wall. So anyway.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, go
so
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know that I got an answer to the question though. So we were kind of wondering if we continue this for another 2 weeks. I mean, I know you want to finish, but I didn't really get a clear answer. Like, are you?
Sorry,
would
it's
you be okay
been
with
sitting
that?
for 2 months at this stage. So you're gonna push another 2 weeks. This has been a 6-month project so far. So we would love, you heard from a potential buyer that is very interested in this, and
So she can't move in until you're finished. Okay.
yes, and so we'd like to move along. We're holding her up.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So, I'm sorry, the public session's closed right now. And I think we have enough information to make a decision up here at this point. I think some of you commissioners know my position on these. These are tough because Mr. Warburton's correct. He's trying to improve his place, and yet he feels somewhat penalized. Now the city doesn't see it like that. The city wants to encourage improvement to the city in general, and so again, we're kind of caught here. I think personally that these cases should be taken on a very case-by-case basis, and where you've got a road with no other improvement or sidewalk on it, a dead-end road where there's no traffic and the potential of trees and and fences being ripped out, I do see that as some type of I hate to use the word punishment, but some type of negative consequence to the homeowner for trying to improve their own property. And so, I don't know, that's my 2 cents for you guys. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I move that, Mr. Chair, I move the planning commission approve the proposed waiver of protest conditional use permit related to standard street improvement requirements at 921 East, 100 North, and dual residential zone, adopting exhibits, conditions, and findings in the staff report. The reason for approving it would be to, there's just 2 lots up there with no traffic coming in there, no use, and also the unknown information as to how wide it needs to be.
Thank you. We got to have a motion by Commissioner Richards. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Carden. All in favor? Aye. All right. We will move to item number 5, public hearing to consider the request of Ryan Warner for a conditional use permit to allow a 2,000 square foot accessory garage to exceed the footprint size of his home on property located at 1110 West, 1800 North in the R120 zone. Royce?
Okay.
Roy, sorry, real quick. I need
Yes.
to put on the record that Commissioner Nelson left. Did you get that already? Okay, thanks. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So this is another conditional use permit. So for accessory buildings, when they exceed 10%, well, when you build an accessory building, period, it can't be any bigger than the footprint of your home without the garage in any of our R1 zones. So what the code allows for, though, is that there's, for accessory building section, if you don't meet one of those requirements, you can come request, it calls it a variance, I guess. It's not really a variance, it's just a waiver. But anyway, it allows the applicant to get a waiver from the requirement that they're not meeting. So in this case, the home is 2,000, or sorry, the proposed garage is 2,000 square feet, and the home is approximately 1,320 square feet without the garage. So because it exceeds the footprint of the home, he needs a waiver in order to build it, even though it does meet the minimum requirement for the zone. Because in any zone in the R1, as long as it's 10% of the minimum lot size, as long as it doesn't exceed that, they don't need any sort of special permitting. But it's 2,000 square feet. He's in the R120 zone, so that meets that 10% threshold. So here's the property. We have an existing accessory structure here on the east side. The planned location is here on the west, and I have a drawing submitted by the applicant. So the new building will be back here in the corner. So as far as what we have information-wise, the requirement for accessory structures is they can't exceed 60, or any structure can't exceed 60% of the lot size. So that's all of your houses, all of your buildings, garages, everything. There's the roof area can't be more than 60% or 40%, sorry. So this doesn't exceed that 40% when we put all of this together. And so because of that, and because of the fact that it does meet the zoning requirements for setbacks, he's showing approximately a 10-foot setback there, which is 7 more feet than is required. And the fact that he is, of course, requesting this waiver here, assuming this is granted, he'll be able to go forward. But I recommend approval of this item based on the fact that it does meet zoning as far as it's been presented by the applicant. So, are there any questions on this item?
I guess I have one
Yeah,
question.
sure.
Royce. Are you considering the existing structure as well when you say that it can't exceed 60% of the total?
Right.
So that includes the home and the existing other structure?
Right. All the built structures on there.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
I think so. Ryan?
Ryan Warner, 1877 North, 1060 West, Pleasant Grove. I think Royce pretty much covered everything. So the old structure it's an old barn. We'll probably end up tearing it down also. So we have a way to. And we also own the lot to the north too, which is a ½ acre, and so there's an acre there combined.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, so this is north right here, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you own that, and is there a house on this lot right here?
Yes, there is.
There right now?
Yes.
Okay, and you own that as well?
Yes.
Okay. And what is this another barn type of?
Just shop storage type.
Shop storage.
Just for,
Do you have any idea how? I know we're not really addressing. I guess it would be a little pertinent to this. Does it block the views from any? Obviously, you're not concerned about the neighbor to the north.
Yeah. No.
What about over here?
There is a house right there.
Yeah, how tall is this structure right here? What do you propose?
The plan right now is 14, and I think we can go to 17 before, but the way it's drawn up right now is 14.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. We will now open it up for any public comment. State your name and your address.
Byron Lawrence, 1842 North, 1150 West. I'm the property owner just to that we were just discussing there. I actually don't really have an issue with the building itself. So, and mainly because, Ryan and I, or the applicant and I, have discussed a lot of the issues that we have, and I think we have a clear understanding of what we need to do going forward. One of the questions that I have more for the body here is there's a strip of land right in between our properties. If you see it, I don't know if you can pull up a plat, Royce, but there's a strip of land. One of the things we talked about was putting up a fence, and to help alleviate the view of having that building right behind it, because it's 30 feet between our back porch and where he's proposing to put this. Is this got the laser point? Okay. Yeah, so if you look right here, that's 30 feet from the back of this back door to the property line, and then then there's this little narrow strip, and then it gets onto the applicant's property line, and then 10 feet to the building. So we've talked about a fence. My question I have is, if we do put in a fence and I go 50-50 on this fence, who am I going 50-50 with? Is it the Warner, or is it the city who owns that strip of land?
That's a great question, Royce. It's a great question. We may not have the answer.
Who mows it currently?
Actually, it's actually between the applicant and I, we pull the weeds and have our kids get out there and take care of business when they're willing to do so.
So if it ends up being the applicant that owns it, have you come to an agreement to put a fence up?
Yeah, we had a gentleman's agreement that we're going to take care of that. We've talked about other things too to alleviate sound, dust, noise, just making sure that there's compliance with city code. So, and I don't think the applicant has any issues with that. And we've had discussions about that today. So
We have a letter that you did that
do you have that?
addresses it.
I'm not sure, but there might the drain line from
What you'll
I think there's
find
a
is,
drain
and
line.
I've seen those in the past, and just in my work experience. Those are probably utility easements that have been abandoned. And it's quite, because my daughter actually owned a lot in Linden, had the same situation. She had like about an 8-foot wide, probably about 75 feet long, piece of property. And it turned out, the reason she found out about it is because he went to tax sale, and someone tried to buy it, tried to purchase it. So she actually purchased that property from the county for $400. Yeah, just so she can have control over that 8-foot section behind her property.
Yeah.
And so this, I don't know if that's the case or not, but this looks like that.
Yeah, and honestly, the way the adjacent neighbor right here, they've got a fence in, and it runs down the property line, and it lines up exactly with my property line. So it would make sense to continue the fence onto our property line, so I don't have some little dog leg sitting in there.
Yeah,
So-
I think the answer is one that,
There's so the property owner that the county is showing is Hannah Beth Matthews. Or
That's
Hannah Ann Beth Matthews.
who the previous owner.
The previous owner.
Which
Okay.
And which property?
Of our property.
Of
Okay,
the.
so you.
So there's-
So
710?
you need to, if you want to control that, you probably need to address that with her to answer his question. You know, because right now you're building a fence on someone else's property.
Who's deceased?
So who owns?
so,
I mean,
yeah.
so
So the
I'll just take it.
Well, the answer is, in order for you guys to sort that out, you're probably gonna have to come back before us. You're probably gonna have to give it to the city and figure out who the prior owner was.
Probably just need to transfer them to sell, I guess.
Yeah, and so it may be something that we need to rezone that, and which would be the next step would have to be an application, am I right, Royce, or?
You wouldn't have to rezone it necessarily. You can just buy it, you know, as long as you're not changing the size of it or adding it to your property and taking it, splitting it. So, but it's, I guess, are you talking about coming before us for a rezone?
Not a rezone, no, just,
So if you really to buy it, then you would combine the two
He can if he wants
parcels
to,
or
he
whatever,
can
so
just
it's
do
one, I
whatever he
don't
wants
know,
to
but
do.
that's a separate.
Who would they be buying it from if they're deceased? I don't know. Is that who?
You know,
Is that just a title
unfortunately, we
company thing? Or?
I wish we had that answer for you, and that's not the issue. On the
Sure.
agenda today.
I understand.
So you're just gonna have to sort out who the owner is. And go there if they're deceased.
I would try to find your heirs and make them an offer for a few $100. And,
They probably don't even know they have it.
for free. You know,
They
and
may not know.
just buy the parcel, and then you won't have that issue.
Okay. That's all I got.
Having gone through that personally, that's what we did, and it solved the problem.
Are there any other comments that would be like by the public?
Ricky Fowler, my address is 1068 West, 1800 North, right beside Ryan's rental property. I guess more of a conversation with Ryan. I need to know, what is the purpose of this building?
Just for storage, just four-wheelers and snowmobiles and.
Are you going to be doing any maintenance on your commercial equipment in there?
No.
There won't be any pneumatic tools, no 2.5 ton jacks?
Do you have a 2.5 ton jack in your garage?
I just want to make sure what's the purpose of this building.
I'll work on my pickups and stuff, so.
Okay, just work on your trucks, none of your commercial equipment.
Yeah.
And none of your brothers.
They got their own yards. So,
Okay,
and shops.
that's my only concern then.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment?
Just a comment, his question.
Can you come up and,
Microphone? We need your name.
I bought these when I was a commissioner for years,
can you give us your address, please?
1585 North Murdoch Drive. The information he
Pleasant Grove.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The information he needs to go to the county recorder's office, but that's where all of that information. That'll tell me who owns it.
Okay, thank you.
It's public information. Anybody can go on.
All right. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll close that session and bring it back up here to the commission. Any further discussion?
I don't think it's an issue. I think the Lawrences and the Ryans have already worked out the issues, and the Lawrences are the ones that are most affected by it. And Mr. Ryan owns the property to the north already, you know, and I don't see an issue.
I think it's great that we actually have an applicant that has worked it out with the neighbor.
Great. It's kind of refreshing.
It makes it easy for us.
I'll entertain a motion then.
Mr. Chair, I move the planning commission approve a conditional use permit Ryan Warner to construct an accessory building exceeding the footprint of the primary structure, less the garage in the R120 zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report, and is modified by the conditions below. All final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements must be met.
I'll second.
A motion by Commissioner Coons and a second by Commissioner Bautista. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We are on on item number 6 at this time. Public hearing to consider a 23 lot subdivision called Mahogany View, being approximately 12.32 acres located at approximately 1640 north, 300 east in the RR zone. Royce?
Okay, so concerning the number of lots, I guess I've had some confusion on it. I put 23 in my staff report and I counted 18 on the plat, so maybe I have the applicant speak to that. So let's see here. So as we've talked about earlier, again, 12.32 acres. This is actually, let's see. So this kind of has a little bit of a history to it. We've had to require a variance for the property on the corner of 1800 North and 100 East, the southeast corner, in order to, because we were, again, requiring them to put in sidewalk improvements when this subdivision is created, as that's a requirement. So they received that variance, and so the subdivision is able to go forward at this time, provided that it's, of course, approved by the city council after this. So let's see. So there are currently no built structures, or no homes, I should say, in the subdivision, with the exception of the one here that received the variance. So the plan is to continue 300 east up and connect up to 1800 north. We have 2 side streets coming off of there. So the way it's been proposed, we've been going back and forth trying to make things meet minimum lot size and so on. So there have been a few different iterations since it was first applied for back in the beginning of the year. But as we've discussed, I feel like we've discussed this pretty extensively, but again, everything meets minimum lot size. Like I said, there were still some lot width issues we're working on. But other than that, everything does meet the zoning, provided that the zoning is changed to the R112. So this is going to be contingent on that change. So let's see here. I guess also some more history. Lot 104, the one that received the variance, the reason that's being included in the subdivision, even though it's an already developed property, is because that was illegally subdivided previously. So the creation of this subdivision is also mandated in order to create a legal subdivision. And as has been discussed by various parties about either not wanting the subdivision at all or putting certain conditions on it. Conditions are doable. Again, we have to have reasoning for conditions. But as far as stopping a subdivision, in the state of Utah, we have pretty extensive private property rights. So development of your property is what's considered a substantial property right in this state. So in order to be able to develop, you have to meet the code that the city has established. And the city has the burden of saying the code doesn't adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare. And in my experience, there's been different interpretations of health, safety, and welfare, but probably the easiest way to say it is it evil? Is it destructive to the neighborhood in the sense that, does it cause severe problems that can be easily mitigated? And that's why we go look at the general plan and say R112 in this case, or R115, works for this area based on the types of traffic that it would generate and so on and so forth. So anyway, based on an analysis of this over the last few months and going back and forth with the engineer on making sure we meet planning requirements, we recommend that this is approved, of course, based on just the general requirement that all planning and zoning requirements are met. So are there any questions about this subdivision?
Mr. Jared,
Yes.
on the staff report, you requested for it to be continued because of 2 of the lots. Has that changed?
So let's see.
The 201 and the 203 lot.
Yeah, and I discussed that a little bit with Ken, and he said that if you would like to continue it, you can, but that's not necessary because by the time it reaches city council and final approval, we work out all the bugs. So where there are some lot width issues, we have continued other subdivisions because of that. But those were because there wasn't really any other way reasonably to do it. And so the subdivisions had to be completely reworked because of lot width issues. Here, it would just be some minor adjustments that need to be made.
So
So-
you're reversing your recommendation on the continuance?
Yeah, so I would recommend that it be approved, but of course you can continue it if you see lot width as being a concern that's high enough that we need to
And just for clarification, what they're presenting to us tonight is what we're approving. If they decide to do something different, they would have to come back, correct?
Right, and of course, like things will be, like I said, modified here and there. If we need to change a lot width, you know, that's something that's not going to throw down an approval. If they add a lot in, or if they take a lot out, or something like that, then we need to bring it back here. But changing a lot width or changing the depth of a lot or something like that is.
What kind of feet are we talking about?
Yeah, let's say, can you tell us what the issues are with those two lots?
So the lots, it's the corner lots. So we have, I think it was lot 203.
203 and 201.
201, yeah. So 201 is required to have a, top of my head, what?
I like those forms.
A 95-foot lot width? Sorry.
90.
90 foot. So it'd be 90 foot and then 100 feet over here. So this is not quite 90 feet. And this is again, not quite 100 feet. So
How far?
I'd have to go measure the plat again. It was under 10 feet. So on each one. So I think it was like 5 to 7 feet, if I remember right. But I haven't measured the plat in a little while. So
they fall under the 12,000, CR112.
right, they do. Yeah, and all the lots meet the minimum lot size. It's just a matter of getting that lot width and making sure that that works. So again, if it turns out that they do have to remove a lot, they will be coming back here.
So to summarize, you're saying the square footage of the lot meets the R112 requirement, but the length of the lot,
The width.
the width of the lot
Right.
is short about 5 to 7 feet.
Right, because there are a few major things that we look at when we take a lot into consideration for approval or seeing if anything needs to change. That's of course lot size based on the zoning, and then also based on the zoning, we have a lot width requirement measured at 50 feet back from the property line. We also have a frontage requirement, which all these meet. It's 35 feet, and then we also have a minimum building pad area. So as long as it's able to put the minimum building pad within the setbacks, which isn't very common that doesn't happen because lots are generally made much larger than would be required for the minimum building pad, then we're good to go.
In your conversations with the developer, do you have possible solutions here?
You know, in my comments, we don't recommend solutions necessarily. We just say this is what needs to be done. The last comment that I've sent out, I want to say it was in April. So, again, we're just waiting.
Variance then for those.
No, it wouldn't be a variance. They just need to, again, change the lot width so that they match. So, because a variance on something like this wouldn't be granted based on the fact that it's a self-imposed issue, and then all they need to do is just adjust the lot line and they'd be good to go.
So what condition would we have to add to this since you have reversed your recommendation?
So what I would say is that you recommend, again, that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met, because that takes into consideration the lot width
So
and
that
lot
would cover
size and so on.
that issue.
Right. So again, it was more me just going through the motions and saying we should probably continue this based on the lot width, based on the fact that other subdivisions have been continued based on lot width. And in discussion with Ken, he said that that wasn't necessary. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Royce. We'll go ahead and open this up to public comment at this time. Anybody like to come forward? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. This is why Amy's here. Sorry. Mr. Anderson, do you want to?
Introduce myself again.
Anderson.
Chairman and members of the commission. Lars Anderson with PEC 986 West, 9000 South in West Jordan, Utah. As far as the lots 201 and 203 go, we had thought we had met the 90-foot requirement. So I didn't know until tonight that we hadn't. So we would be happy to move lot 103, make lot 103 smaller, and that would accommodate 201 and 203 being in compliance. So if that's reasonable, we thought we had complied with all of it. Again, the main purpose that we're showing the preliminary plat tonight is to show how the roads line up, to show the lots, that other family members, Craig has other family members that will eventually develop 301, 302, 303, 304, and they wanted phase 3 to be larger lots. And so that's based on their wishes, although it's well below the R12. We need the R12 again because of the way the roads are lined up. We prefer that, and we'll make sure all the lots meet that requirement.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can go ahead and open it up for public comment. Anybody that would wish to hear it?
Stuart Eastman, 355 East, 640 North. Question is that I just heard that the arrangement was 23 lots, but we've been talking about 18 the whole time. So 18 is it?
23 is actually only on the district.
Okay, but we're talking 18. And then and this may be a question you don't have at this time, is typically there's water rights on that kind of property, and that's ceded to the city in order to take care of the volume, new volume of water that's going to be required. Do we know if there's any water rights on that that are given up?
Yeah, our engineer can speak to that if you.
So yeah, whenever a project comes in, there is a water requirement in Pleasant Grove. There's 3 acre-feet per acre of lot area being proposed for new subdivision. So in this particular subdivision, you'd have if we're dealing with all of the phases, we won't in the final plat have all of them, but the one lot has a home, so it'd be given a credit for the fact that it's already being used, has that water in the city system. Any other lots being proposed for a final plat would be required to provide that water at that amount.
Okay, that's done by those future owners, or?
No, it's done by the developer. So when they go down to record the lot, so when they bring us the plat to be recorded at the county, they will be submitting to the city the necessary water to support those new lots.
Okay, all right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Is that okay? So that we don't have to yell. Steve Roof, 1817 North, 275 East. I have a question for the developer. Can you tell us what is actually getting developed and what is not getting developed in this?
Yes, at this time, you see lots 101, 102, 103 are part of phase 1. That's why they're numbered that way.
If you would just use a pointer, just so
Okay.
I think some people can't read what those lots are, so go ahead and.
Lots 101, 102, and 103 are in phase 1, including 104, only because of the technical reason that it was not subdivided when it was sold. So that's why it's being included now. And then lots 201 through 207 would be phase 2. We hope to record those separately because you'll have Smith family members here and then a different family member, Craig's sister, owning these. So that's why we separated those into 2 phases. This road will be constructed and this road will be constructed with both those phases, as well as the half width requirement on this road, and then it'll dead end. The phase 3 lots will be future development at some point that who knows.
Sidewalks that are on 1800 North?
Sidewalks on 1800 North this whole block and this lot, this sidewalk would have to be installed when this lot is eventually developed. This sidewalk on 104, that's why it's part of the first phase, would have to go in now because of the way it was not subdivided previously.
So there's going to be a big gap of sidewalk.
There'll be a gap until this property is eventually developed. It'll remain as a horse property until such time. Is that accurate, Craig?
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Chan Van Orman, 1848 North, 275 East. A little embarrassing. This is the first time I've ever been to a public the planning commission meeting. Not sure if I'm proud of myself, but I am upset that we've got a whole community that is upset. And I think if we'd have had a chance to talk about this with Craig and hear some of our concerns, and we express to him and to those who are representing him and to the developers, I think we'd have had a very pleasant, different outcome, like the item that went before us, where the neighbors talked to each other, they figured it out. And I'm understanding more what Scott was saying, that we're not that far off of some of the concerns that we have. But when we were presented with a fait accompli, it felt as though our opinions didn't matter. It felt as though the community voice didn't matter. And I really thought there's two things that I would hope, and I don't know if I'm even addressing the right body of people, but I would hope that the reason there is a commission is so that when we can come up with a city plan and there's a specific implementation, that you can be the mediators between that plan and the interests of the individuals who were involved and the circumstances that exist at the present time, rather than just executing whatever the plan is.
Mr. Van Orman, if I can just interject here, if you would like to discuss anything on the item that we're on right now, we're happy to hear it.
Yes.
The previous item has been voted upon and passed the vote.
Then I would urge the commission to table or continue this item to allow the community to sit down together and to talk with one another rather than having hostility be the result of tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
Josh Hall, 1844 North, 320 East in Pleasant Grove. Just a concern about the size of the plots and the likelihood of those would become rental homes. On the back side of the cul-de-sac that I'm on, we have about 80% rentals, and the rental property is sky high right now. We came from Traverse Mountain where they're building new homes where they're not even being moved in by the original owner. They're becoming rental properties right out of the gate, and that's because of the small lot, small house size. And that's, don't have facts or studies yet, but obviously a very negative impact on the neighborhood, the way the houses are kept, any type of money that's put into development. I had to build a fence on my property line, and they're all rental homes behind me. And of course, no one wanted to help pitch in for the fence. And so I'm paying 100% of the fence, and would like to understand what the likelihood of those homes would be, of those becoming rentals, and the negative impact that would have on the surrounding area.
Thank you. So I think that's a tough question to answer. I don't know if there's an exact answer. I know we have some real estate agents on the commission here, and so, but yeah, let's hear from the applicant, see if he has a response.
Jesse Brimall, again representing some of the future owners of this property. The intent is to develop these out as homes for sale, not for rent. The crystal ball, you never know, but that's not the intent. And anyone that buys a home, whether it be on a quarter-acre lot or half-acre lot, I live in a 1 acre lot subdivision, and the home across from me was rented for 4 years. It's on 3/4 of an acre. You just don't know. The intent of these is to build them and sell them as homes. No intention whatsoever to build them as rentals. So,
thank you.
Yeah, I think just in comment with that, is I think he's right in a sense that, you can, whether your intent it is, but people still have the right to utilize their property as long as it's within the zoning, and they, they meet the zoning requirements of that particular area. You can't control that they can or cannot rent to a person. Then you're violating their property rights as well.
Scott Chappell, I live at 1813 North, 320 East, in the subdivision across the road also. And I'm going to make a comment that might make me unpopular with my neighbors. As I came here with one idea that it might be something that I would be opposed to, but as I see the actual plat and the way it's laid out, I don't have any opposition to it. I think it's going to be a lovely subdivision. And I think that any of us who moved in, we moved in knowing that we had land that was unoccupied on both sides of us. I was the first house to build in that neighborhood, and I love the neighborhood, and I think I'll continue to love the neighborhood, and I love my neighbors. But I think we also need to realize that when we built our houses, there were probably a lot of people that would rather have seen it be a horse pasture still. And I'm guessing that it might even been Brother Smith who would have thought that too. So I just wanted to voice my opinion that my opinion has changed as I came here to this meeting tonight. And I think that if this is what goes in, I can live with that. I think it's a good subdivision. I'm grateful that they haven't tried to put in the very minimum lot sizes that could be done, because frankly, despite what we say, they still could. I think that we should work with them and be grateful that they're wanting to develop it in a way that's going to maintain their own property values and ours also.
And if I may, that's why I asked for clarification, because as it's presented is what they're going to be doing. If they want to make any changes as far as adding or removing lots, they would have to come back.
Right.
So
And,
this
and you
is,
would be notified again and be able to come in and voice concern again.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public session at this time and bring it back up here to the commission. Any input from any of the commissioners? I think we said, I'm going to say one thing. I don't want Mr. Van Orman to think that I was cutting him off and not letting him voice his frustrations, but I would like to point out that our job as commissioners, we're not mediators. We're not here to bring this side together and this side and help you guys figure it out. Notice was given to neighbors, and it is unfortunate if neighbors can't work things out, but that's not necessarily our job, is to get the neighbors together in advance and have them work things out and mediate it. So I just wanted to point that out.
well, and Mr. Chair, if I may add to that, we don't know that you haven't talked yet when you come to us. So,
This is all new, I think, to all of us.
right, and see, we won't know that as the commission. We wouldn't know that you haven't spoken to him yet. So we just approach it as it's
I
given
think
to
we
us.
told you that.
But we do, I would like to point out that we do consider all comments that are made. We do. We consider everything, but we are obligated to also follow the laws that bind us. And so just wanted to make that comment and
Well,
bring it back up here.
I know you mentioned the notice, so you are given the notice and the applicant's information is there. It's all public record, so you do have the right to reach out.
How many days does it have to be?
So it's a 7-day notice, 10-day notice,
We usually do longer.
10 days prior.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I move the County Commission approve the proposed 18-lot preliminary subdivision called Mahogany View Plat A, located 1640 North, 300 East in the R112 Single Family Residential Zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report, and meets all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements.
I second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Richards and a second by Commissioner Coombs. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is carried. Items 7 and 8 have been continued, and so we will move to item 9 at this time. Public hearing to consider a one-lot subdivision called Olin, being approximately 0.5 acres on property located at approximately 1246 North, 500 East in the R15 single-family residential zone.
Okay, so this is a much simpler subdivision. It's actually a one-lot subdivision, which we don't see very often. So it's property here off of.
If we could have the room clear out and take the conversations outside, we still have another item to take care of. Thank you.
So previously, the issue had been here. This is considerably lower, this property, than the street up here. And because the street has the sewer in it, they needed to be able to bring the sewer up until a future point when they could bring the sewer back down here to 900 East. No, 500 East. So it's all right. So anyway, the previous property owner didn't want to do that. However, we now have a new property owner and they want to subdivide it. So the way that it's worked out is the plat shows currently two properties. There's a little sliver here, and then there's a larger property of which they are going to be granting a road dedication to the city. And you'll have a smaller property section on this southeast side. So the smaller property section, we've asked them to deed that over to somebody adjacent. And I guess that's their prerogative who they decide to do that to, but that does need to leave because that creates a separate property because it will be across the road and divided from the original parcel. So the intent of this parcel, or the intent of this subdivision, is to combine this and the sliver together and then give the road dedication and get rid of this little piece. And what that will do is make the lot buildable, which allows them to be able to develop the property. What's that? Back one, sure. Oops. Okay.
Where is that road supposed to come out at?
My understanding of the planning is that it curves west.
I looked at it and I didn't get where that road was gonna go.
Yeah.
There's no good opening right now.
I was
Buil-
gonna say-
building-
I was gonna say, I had no idea whether it was where.
Some building is going to go away in order for that to happen.
Okay, because I was, okay, what is the intent? What is,
I
the
think
idea?
it could go either way. You could turn and go to 1100 North, you could turn and go to this way. It'll just be a function of what those property owners decide. So a stub street provides an opportunity to develop. That's exactly why the stub comes down to this parcel now, is so that the interior of this lot, this block, sorry, can further develop.
So any other questions? Any other questions for Russ?
No, I just didn't get the road.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
Sorry.
The applicant present?
She's in Hawaii. Can I have a problem with this.
Are you,
Are you
okay, you're not the applicant, correct?
No, I'm not.
Okay, if you can hold on for just 1 minute, it appears, so the applicant's not here, we're not having them coming.
Temple's not here.
Okay.
I'm the one representing.
Okay, so, sorry, ma'am.
That's okay.
You're okay, you can stay right there. I
Can I
just need
stay
to
there?
formally just state that the applicant is not here and nobody's here in her stead, and so we will open it up now to public comment. So you can go ahead and say
Okay.
your name and address.
My name is Joy Birch. I live at 1270 North, 580 East in Pleasant Grove. I do not want that road going down into that subdivision. I want it to go on 5th East or on 11th East. Atwood and Newman has plenty of land in between their two homes to bring a street up and build from that end. I do not want it to come through that subdivision.
Can you tell us your address again?
It's 1270 North,
The pointer.
Royce, do you know where?
580
Can you
East.
help her point out her property?
70 North.
Okay, I have all the property and they built all the way around me.
We're just trying to find out which one.
We just want to know which one's yours, so it gives us some more understanding of where you're at.
Just push the button here.
There we go.
Well, I, oh, sure.
Okay. Sorry, it just helps us understand a little bit better, right there?
Okay.
All this.
Okay, that's
Okay,
your property.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That gives us better understanding of where you're coming from. Thank you.
Well, I'm right straight across the street from it.
Okay.
And, you know,
Can you restate where you wanted the road to go?
I want the road to go through Newman's and Atwood's on 500. And it's down on the next street.
You want it to go through here?
Yeah. I want it to go along here instead of up here. Or you could go in on 1100. Either way, but I don't want it in that subdivision. And it's right in the center of the subdivision. I want it to go either one of those other places.
So is this a backyard right here? Or, I don't.
What do you mean, a backyard? There's who?
She's talking about your property. She's
Oh, it's a driveway, okay.
That's a driveway. My home sits back in, I have 3 acres. And I built this subdivision all the way around me. And I don't want this road going through the center of this subdivision with all these children and playing out in the street. Why can't they go along 5th East or along 11th East? North. I don't know why he wants to go down that way. They can bring in the utilities from 500 East just as easy as he could through this back way.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Birch. anybody have any questions for this one? Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment?
Yes. My name's Sasha Welker, and I live 556 East, 1300 North. This house right here. And can we go back to the other slide that it shows the drawing?
Yeah, if you grab that remote, the up and down arrows in the center will take you back and forth through that.
So they've come to the planning commission before to have this rezoned. And so I was very confused why they're asking for a subdivision, a one lot subdivision. I'd like to understand what that means.
They're just trying to combine those two, the thin parcel into one, is all they're doing.
It also takes care of the road dedication.
So then the city's responsible for the road instead of the applicant, if it's a subdivision?
So there would be, they have to have frontage on a public street, so they need to extend the street down to provide them with that frontage on a public road.
I thought they talked about that last time. That's why they had to rezone it, was because they needed to have street access to come down.
Correct. So it was previously zoned RR. It's been rezoned, I believe, R120, which, so now when you shave off the area for the public street, what they have remaining is less than a half acre. So they needed the zone change in order to have a legal lot still.
That's what they approved before, was they decreased it to allow the road.
Correct.
Because it encroached on their lot and they couldn't keep it.
Correct.
So I don't understand why they're here today.
So the previous applicant really proposed the very same thing. They made a decision to not continue. And so their application died. They didn't take it forward to completion. This is a different applicant proposing essentially the exact same thing.
I understand.
So you're seeing it as, well, why are we here again? Because I've already talked about this, but this is a different applicant doing the same thing.
My understanding was before there was no sewage access to that lot.
Correct.
They would have to pump the sewage up the hill because the Atwoods weren't allowing them to go down to 500 East. So what is the process with this applicant being even able to do anything with it as well?
Nothing has changed in that regard, and the applicant has the option of either negotiating an easement or a gravity sewer line from either the Atwoods or Mr. Newman or a combination, or installing a pump system that will lift the sewage up to the sewer main in 1300.
Okay, so the property may have changed owners, or now somebody else wants to try and develop it and do something with it. And so they're asking again?
They're asking, so they're going through the process again. So the original application that you were notified on previously expired. So there's a time limit. After you receive a preliminary plat approval, you have to move forward to final within a year or it expires. So this is a different individual looking at the property. I don't know whether or not they've completed a sale of it, if it's changed hands yet, but that's the intention, is for them to buy it and build a home here.
I understand. So the subdivision doesn't mean they're going to subdivide that into duplexes or anything else. That doesn't what a subdivision means.
In this case, it's being subdivided, but the only two pieces you'll have is one lot and a piece of street.
Okay.
But we still go through that
All
process
right,
to do
because
that.
I was concerned if we're putting 5 houses in there. Okay. The street is very weird. And you made a comment on an earlier thing that has to be 56 feet. That's not, I don't think that's 56 feet. It's a very narrow piece of road.
So it's 56 feet in the total right of way. The pavement is 40 feet wide. So the existing piece that's coming down is 40 feet wide of asphalt.
And so that's okay.
And it's just like the street in front of your home. It's 40 feet of asphalt.
Okay. What I think Joy is concerned about, and I share her concern, is that you build that road to there, and then in future times it keeps going, and then it just becomes a busier road. And if there was any way to make a different access, but that lot is landlocked right now. Can I go to the other slide that shows the picture?
Yeah, just go back up.
You can see all the fields around it. There's these people own, these are the Atwoods right here. and that's part of his property. And then there's this part here that Joy was talking about that they could get to their property this way. But this is owned by somebody else and all this is owned. So the only way to get to their land right now is right here, which we don't know why they even built this road in the beginning unless there was always this intent to develop it.
That is correct. That was why it was stubbed, was so that the interior of that property could develop at some point in time.
Okay. Well, I am concerned about having this big house around me, but I know I can't do anything about it. But I wanted to understand the subdivision, at least it's just one house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your input. Any other comments from the public?
My name is Jeff Thorne. I live at 555 East, 1100 North. My property is this property right here. We've got the Newmans. I believe the Newmans own this area here. And my big concern is what's going to happen with that road that comes down. I mean, I don't mind personally that they want to put a house here and they want to extend that road down. But are they going, am I going to need to, there's this little tiny piece right here, I believe that the Atwoods own. Am I eventually going to have to put in sidewalk there? Am I going to have to improve that? I mean, I have no interests in using that land for any sort of subdivisions in the near future or even in the next 10 years. Also, my late grandmother, Laurel Thorne, was promised, there were certain promises made, I believe, by developers or by the city to grant her access to that back lot. And I'm interested in having access to that back lot because right now there's this awkward little private lane. It used to be a road decades ago. And I can get access to there even though it's quite awkward, honestly. So am I going to need to develop that? Because I'm personally not in a financial situation where I would be able to put in a sidewalk. And what kind of access would I have? And those are really my concerns.
I don't think you're forced to develop your property until you're ready to develop.
Okay. So I wouldn't need to put in a sidewalk until I decided, or I had to, certain remodels were.
City's got to have a road plan.
Okay.
So it may be incomplete, at the time.
Right.
As development happens, and just continue on.
I guess one of my points is that I don't want a road to encroach on my property if I don't need the access to it, or like I don't want to see a cul-de-sac put in right there where I'm not interested in building a home back there, at least not now. So.
Yeah, I don't think that's in the plan or on the agenda tonight. So. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I have another question. Sasha Welker, 556 East, 1300 North. If that road continues, does the city make him take that triangle piece off his property to continue the road? If the other people around want to put houses?
It's a tough question to answer because it's a lot of speculation. We don't know what's,
Can the city do that and say we have to put in a road, so you have to give us part of your property?
Absolutely.
If they want to develop it, yes.
So the city always has the right of eminent domain. We
Oh,
don't normally
that's
do
so
that.
sad. Sorry, Guy.
So let me finish answering your question. So the city does have that legal right. That's not something in the 8 years that I've been here that I've ever seen us do. Talking with our city attorney, there's only one instance where we had what was termed a friendly condemnation. Because of some reasons, that was the best way for the property owner to sell some ground to the city. I'm not aware that it's ever been used. But a city always has that right for public interest, public needs to condemn property. They pay full fair market value for the property, so they can do that. More than likely what's going to happen, so his property doesn't even touch the proposal tonight. You would have to cross Mr. Newman's property to get there. And so if the time came that Mr. Newman said, well, I want to develop my property, and in order to extend the street, I need to have a conversation with the neighbor, that's where it would be directed. It would be, in my opinion, it would be a very, very unusual situation for the city to use their ability to support the standard subdivision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mine's probably more to tell you guys where I'm at. My name is Lance Newman, 1210 North, 500 East. I own the property here. This is my property boundary over that, on that little piece, and then over to here. My house sits right there. My concern, I guess, is if you bring that road down there, that's quite a steep grade. We've talked about that. You can't get your sewer out the bottom. Where's this water go? We've had problems down here on 11th North where the city, where all the water off the top subdivision just goes onto people's lawns. We've had some problems. When that road stops at nothing, I'm not planning on, this is for you guys, I don't plan on putting a road. I don't plan on subdividing anything in my lifetime. I mean, never say never, but that road, I think that road's going to stop right there for all the foreseeable future in my life. So have you got some way to contain the water so it doesn't come and wash me out? That's something to, you know.
Sorry, what was that last?
I'm just worried about the water.
Okay.
Coming down that road, runs down asphalt really good.
Dagan, has that issue been addressed?
So the plans propose, so there's a storm drain inlet on the east side right now at the end. They would connect into that same box at the end of the street and collect all the water. So a reasonable plan will be put forward to collect the water on the city street and convey it into the city.
Okay, so that's
Is that part of the development or does the city do that?
It's part of the development.
okay. Just, I'm good.
Thank you. Any other public comment? If not, we'll close the public comment session and we will bring it back up here for discussion. Yeah, any further discussion? I missed that last part.
I just didn't get the road.
I understand the road part.
Do you understand it now, or do you?
Well, no, but yeah. I kind of get the idea of what they're saying, but nobody has an idea for the road. It's just continuing.
Well, just as it develops, that's
So,
the route.
To say we don't have an
General
idea, there
plan,
is a
yeah.
vicinity plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the vicinity plan shows it going, quite frankly, right through Lance's house out towards 500.
To 500, okay. Good to know.
What is shown as a potential, it's a potential.
What you should do is put a drink stand there so people pull through and order a drink and you're all set.
I'm the only guy that thought ahead and not 56 feet for a road. So that's why I think that's,
So all of the places in the city where we have a stub street is to provide for the potential to develop so that we don't end up with landlocked parcels. That's really the whole goal, is so that somebody else doesn't develop in a way that is self-centered, that is self-focused, and doesn't look at how they interact with the larger community. We don't want to encourage cul-de-sacs. We don't want to encourage flag lot subdivisions. So providing the opportunity for a standard street frontage to be extended through at some point in time, when Mr. Newman's no longer with us, as he's indicated, then that opportunity will be there for some future owner. Maybe the next person doesn't want to do it either, but the opportunity has been preserved.
Okay. Great. Any other discussion at all? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the planning commission approve the proposed one lot preliminary subdivision called land located approximately 1246 north, 500 east, in the R120 single family residential zone, adopting exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report.
I hear a second.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Richards, second by Commissioner Cardin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Just for the record, Temple's last name is O'Lion.
Okay. O'Lion. Olin. Okay.
I think I said Olay. A little closer.
Thank you. I believe that concludes all the items. Do we have minutes to?
Item 10.
If we could continue, well, I think,
Yeah.
why don't I entertain a motion to continue?
I'll second it.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we continue item 10.
I'll second it now.
To the June, do I have to say this?
June 11th.
June 11th, planning commission.
Motion by Commissioner Cardin, second by Commissioner Coombs to continue item 10. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And who seconded that, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for planning commission minutes for May 14th, 2015.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes. And the second, has everybody had a chance to review them?
Sorry, I'm just,
You need some time to review them for a second?
give me a second to read them.
Well, there's that little private road here. Actually, was drove by some developers.
Okay, I think I'm okay.
All right, we still have a pending motion from Commissioner Richards. If we have a second, I'll entertain that.
I'll second.
Okay. Here's just a minute for these other two to.
Just approve as written, is that what his motion was?
What's that?
Approved as written?
Approved as written, it was his motion, and second by Commissioner Cardin.
Okay. Okay.
You good, Jennifer?
I wasn't, I'm not.
You can still,
Okay.
you can still.
I know, I
You can
said,
still
I'm
vote.
not have to correct it.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we conclude this meeting,
I second.
adjourn this meeting.
Okay, motion by
second
Commissioner
that.
Richards, second